please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Let's shift focus back home on Dalal Street. The tariff tussle between US and China weighed in on our markets. The Nifty, while it managed to hold on the 10,700 mark, ended at a two-week low. The Sensex tanked more than 250 points, and the Nifty banks, the PSU bank, actually ended with a cut of 1.5%. Mid-caps too were under pressure. Ekta, what's on the anvil today?
Well, like you mentioned yesterday, Mangalam, we were resilient, but we did manage to succumb to global pressure. So the Nifty closed just about holding on to 10,700. The mid-cap index underperformed. The advanced decline ratio was weak at 1:3. FIIs continued to sell, so they net sold 1,325 crores. DII at over 600 odd crores yesterday. Now, in terms of the rupee also, that was at a one-month low, and we saw that kind of deceleration or depreciation come in on an intraday basis itself. So it closed at around 68.38, as you can see on your screen. Now, for this morning, the global cues continue to be dominant. So the trade fears really have gripped global markets. US markets erased gains for the year yesterday, we pointed out, and the US markets closed lower yesterday. Asia is largely okay this morning. It's just about flat to higher, maybe because the worst of what was to take place was factored in yesterday. So let's see how the SGX is currently indicating that it could be a little bit of a flattish start with a little bit of a negative consolidation. So maybe that could be the theme that we could see today, just taking cue from what Asia is depicting. Now, remember that there is risk off which is taking place globally. So we have the US dollar which is gaining, the yen which is gaining, the Swiss franc which is seeing buying. The US dollar, for example, is at a 7-month high. The Chinese yuan is at a 5-month low. The South African rand is at a 7-month low. And we have other currencies such as the rupee, which is at a 1-month low. So that's giving you an indication that there is risk off globally and there is money being taken off from emerging markets. So while we could see consolidation today, maybe there could be a drift lower towards, the levels of the Nifty, which I'll just get to in a second. In terms of Brent crude prices, they're currently at 74.75. We saw an up move yesterday, seeing a little bit of a consolidation to a negative bias today. And remember that all this is ahead of that big OPEC meeting, which we've been talking about, which takes place this weekend. So in terms of Nifty levels, watch out for the 20-day moving average, which will come up for you on your screen, 10,690, 50 DMA, which is at 10,650, 100 DMA, which stands at around 10,555, and the 200 DMA. So all these levels would be crucial, but obviously the 50 DMA would be the first one to watch out for. In terms of a couple of IPOs, it's back in terms of the IPO market. Let's see how much that sustains in terms of momentum. But railway consultancy firm Wright's IPO is opening today, and Fine Organics is also seeing its books open today.
All right, Ekta, thanks a lot for that. Individual stocks that you're watching out for, you did allude to a couple of primary market action stocks.
Separately, we have Cipla, which has received approval for an HIV drug. So that stock should see some amount of sentiment positive. IIFL Holding, where the board is allotting shares worth around 745 crores to financial investors. DCM Shriram, there is an update on the buyback. The board approved the total buyback size of around 250 crores. Kansai Nerolac signed a share purchase agreement to acquire 55% stake in a company in Bangladesh for 46 crores. Wheels India, there's a bonus issue that they're going to consider on the 22nd of June. IFCI Brickwork has revised their long-term rating lower, so watch out for that one. Capital First, companies entered into a share subscription agreement to acquire 14% stake in a company. Sharda Cropchem is going to consider some amount of fundraising on the 25th of June. And Oberoi Realty, their QIP closed yesterday, so that stock will be in focus as well.
All right, Ekta, thanks a lot for that. With that, we'll slip into a short break. Come back, we talk about Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal's meeting. He says that an asset... Welcome back. This is Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Now, Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal met heads of top public sector banks in the national capital yesterday. Timsy is here with us to take us through the highlights of that meeting. Timsy, good morning.
Morning. As you rightly mentioned, Finance Minister Piyush Goyal took a slew of meetings with bankers, where bankers have now vouched that over the next 2 weeks they'll study the credit needs of good borrowers. Now, the credit needs will be adhered to is what Finance Minister promised, and he said that this will be done in two stages where good borrowers will be classified in two stages. One, where the needs are below 200 crores, and second, where the needs are above 200 and below 2,000 crores. Now, these good borrowers won't be denied of any credit or any future lending is what government and PSBs have said. Also, PSBs have said that they will now work towards the two committees that were formed, one on a possible ARC or AMC, where they will try and see that any good loans can be restructured, and secondly, on the credit flow, which is headed by Jaikumar. So let's see, once these suggestions come in, they will be thrown open for the bankers to discuss that what could be a possible future course of action. But yes, this will take another week or so. We'll keep you posted.
All right, Timsy, thanks a lot for that. We'll trust you to keep us posted on any developments there. But in fact, let's also hear out what the Finance Minister Piyush Goyal himself had to say after the meeting.
All the banks have collectively decided that in two stages, they will take up the credit needs of genuine, deserving, well-performing and good companies. They will do a creditors' agreement or arrangement amongst the bankers so that earlier problems which was faced in consortium lending can be ironed out more smoothly. As regards the Reserve Bank Governor's views, it is his views about the powers of regulation and supervision. We believe that the powers are available with the Reserve Bank, and that is a conversation the government and the Reserve Bank will have amongst themselves. And if there are any more additional powers required, the government is very open to that. A committee headed by Sunil Mehta is studying a proposal that the bankers themselves had come out with, whether they should form an asset reconstruction company and/or an asset management company. The committee is deliberating on it, is discussing with all stakeholders, and will come out with their recommendations.
So that was the interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal. In fact, we also got in some commentary from the chairman of SBI, Rajneesh Kumar, and Charan Singh, the non-executive chairman of Punjab and Sindh Bank. So let's hear out what they had to say.
It is a voluntary intercreditor agreement which we are working on and which will be done with the consent of all the banks.
So it is just to mitigate the risk that is associated in consortium lending?
The process part, because most of the time it sometimes becomes very difficult when there are 15, 20, 25 banks. Building up consensus becomes difficult. That is a practical difficulty. So we are trying to find out a way that how do we smoothen the process and take time.
Sir, by when this agreement will be?
Work is going on at a very fast.
MSMEs continue to be a part of priority sector, and all the public sector banks have met their priority sector targets. So it's basically the commercial banks, public sector banks, who have to decide to whom they've lent. And if they're fulfilling their priority sector lending targets, I think they're doing exceedingly well.
Welcome back. This is Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Now, the tariff tussle between the two largest economies refuses to die down and is seen to be escalating rapidly into a full-blown trade war. India has notified the World Trade Organization that it intends to impose retaliatory measures from the 21st on account of the steel and aluminum tariffs that the United States has imposed. So listen into what Rajiv Kher, the former Commerce Secretary, had to say on the discourse between the two countries.
India and US have been allies as far as economic cooperation is concerned, and therefore, we believe that US will not take a measure which brackets India with, let's say, the likes of China as far as US bilateral trade is concerned. But having said that, I think we need to recognize that there are two aspects to this whole issue. One is, of course, this larger issue of a trade war, and the other is the bilateral issues between the US and India. This is a lose-all kind of a situation, because if you escalate this trade war, it is only going to be at the detriment of everyone who is involved. Having said that, we need to recognize that China is more, in terms of trade, China is exposed more to the vagaries of US policy establishment because of obvious reasons that China is exporting more to the US and elsewhere. And therefore, China is bound to be a bigger loser in a purely trade-related scenario. But having said that, we also need to recognize that this appears not just a trade war. Trade is essentially an indicator. And essentially what we are getting into is a much broader shake-up.
All right, so let's get in some corporate commentary now. CNBC TV18's Utkarsh Chaturvedi caught up with Pawan Munjal, the MD CEO of Hero MotoCorp, from the sidelines of the FIFA World Cup 2018 underway in Russia to get a sense of whether the growth seen in the company's motorcycle business over the last 3-4 months will sustain. Listen in.
I'm very optimistic. The previous fiscal has been very good for Hero. This fiscal, the first 2 months have been great. I think we're going to have a very good year. Fiscal to have a very good year. Fiscal 19 is going to be very good for the entire industry, and we are going to do better than the industry.
So speaking of Hero itself, I remember when I last spoke to you during Auto Expo, when you launched your new products on the focus area you spoke about scooters and premium motorcycle. How have they been doing?
We are all set and ready to go. We will be very soon launching our Extreme 200, followed by the scooters, and then followed by the X-Pulse.
So by then, do you really think the market share in the premium side, Hero will have a sizable market share in the 150 plus cc segment?
Well, we are taking our first steps there with the launch of the Extreme 200, with the X-Pulse, and that's how we keep increasing our market share there. Also, the same with the scooters.
And in the bread and butter segment, sir, in the commuter segment, how have we been doing? And do you think that segment to grow as healthy?
We've been doing very good in the bread and butter segment. We've got a lot of products there. We keep working on our products, renewing them, bringing in new products, and we are increasing our market share in the bread and butter segment.
And speaking about the new launches, how many launches in the premium and scooter segment we can see, say, in this fiscal?
We will keep doing what we've been doing in the past. We will keep letting our customers enjoy Hero's products. We will keep increasing the number of launches. The CIT, the Center for Innovation and Technology at Jaipur, is working very, very hard, and they are doing a lot of work there with new products, also with the BS6 emission norms which are coming in very soon.
And any numbers you can give our viewers, how many new products in this fiscal can Hero see?
As I said, we will keep delighting our customers like always.
So speaking about BS6, how big that challenge is, and I'd also like you to give us some idea about the electric vehicles and electric two-wheelers you're speaking about.
Yeah, BS6 has been a challenge, but we are all working on the challenge, and we are ready for the challenge. We are changing and modifying all our engines for BS6, and we will be ready before the 1st of April 2020.
All right, time for a short break now. But up next, railway consultancy firm Rights and Fine Organics separately will be opening their IPO for subscription today. More details on the other.